thanks for joining another video in our Watercolor for Real Beginners series. I'm Michelle Crawford, and today we're going to be making a reversed split primary color wheel. If you want to learn everything about color mixing and how to make a standard color wheel, check out the last video. But today we're going to learn about what happens if you switch those primaries in your split primary color wheel and how you can make all these neutrals. So let's get started. To begin, let's go through our supplies. Just like the last color wheel video, I have provided an exercise file for you. This is free to download. Check the link in the description to access the file, and you can print this and use it as we go along. I've also got some watercolor paper. I'm just using B Paper Company. This isn't the best quality paper, but it's 140 pound, and for what we need to do today, this is going to be great. So don't fret about the quality of your paper. I also have a towel here to dab off my brush, as well as two just size 6 round brushes that I'll use as we do our color mixing today. I've got a water bottle, which is really helpful to activate your paints, a paint palette, some water. I've got a clean side and a dirty side. That's going to be really helpful for us as we are doing some color mixing. We don't want to add any dirty water to our color mixes. And then of course I have my Winsor & Newton Cotman series travel palette here. So let's go ahead and get started. Just like the last standard primary color wheel, or split primary color wheel that we did together, we're going to do a reversed primary color wheel today. So essentially what happens if you take the warm and cool primaries and you flip them. So we've got, in our last video, we learned about how to mix these bright, vibrant colors by utilizing the color wheel. We've got these 3 sections that are showing us if you mix these colors together, here's what you'll get. And this is how you get your nice, vibrant colors. What we're going to do is a reverse color wheel, and we're going to flip-flop these, and we're going to learn how to make lots of different neutrals today. So if you're getting muddy colors, check out the last video so you can learn how to mix these nice, clean, vibrant colors. And if you want to learn how to mix these neutrals, this is a great reference to have, so you always have an idea of what you're going to get if you mix different colors. So first things first, we want to go ahead and transfer the image from our exercise file to our watercolor paper. I've already done that. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just went ahead and made some circles, used this as a guide to divide out my sections, and then went ahead and labeled all the color areas. And just like before, we're just going to start in each section and start mixing our colors. So here we're going to, before we had the bright greens, we'll start on this side. And here we're going to, with the warm yellow and a warm blue, you're going to see that we're going to be getting some neutral color greens. Why is that? That's because a warm yellow is going to have a little bit of red in it. A warm blue is also going to have a little bit of red in it. So we're essentially going to be mixing yellow, blue with a little bit of red. And we know that when we add 3 primaries together, we'll get some type of a neutral. And so that's going to happen all the way around. Our cool blue with our warm red is going to add in a 3rd color, our cool red with our cool yellow, etc. So first, let's go ahead and activate our paints. I'm just going to spray them down with water just to get them nice and wet. Water is one of the most important ingredients for watercolor. And we're going to start with our warm yellow. So that for me is my cadmium yellow. And remember my paint palette here, we're essentially using the 6 primaries. We have a warm and a cool yellow, a warm and a cool red, and a warm and a cool blue. So let's start with our cadmium yellow. I'm going to take some water from my palette, make sure brush is nice and wet. And the first thing we're going to do is activate that paint by just scrubbing our brush in the paint to make sure we're getting a nice thick coat of paint. And you can see I've got that cadmium yellow here. You can always add a little bit more water if needed. And we're going to paint that first little section here. You can see that warm yellow feels a little bit more orange because it has the red undertone. Okay. And then the other color we're going to be mixing here is our warm blue, which is our ultramarine. I'm going to rinse off my brush, grab some clean water, and go in for my ultramarine. Now this blue leans more red. It's a little bit more purple than the cerulean blue, which is leaning a little bit more green. So we'll paint that over here. I do try to leave a little bit of space in between the sections just so that we don't get colors bleeding across the line, but that'll also kind of give you an idea of a mix of those colors in between. So don't fret about being too perfect here. Okay, now the one in the middle is going to be a 50% blue, 50% yellow. So in order to do this, we're going to take some of the paint here. You might need to grab a little bit more from our palette. Some blue here. And rinsing my brush in between, grabbing some of that warm yellow. We want to try to get about 50-50, and let's mix those together. Now in the last video, when we did our split primary color wheel, and we had everything in the right order, we got a nice vibrant kind of lime green. Here, we're getting a much more neutral green. It's almost kind of like a sap green. And so because we're introducing, again, a little bit of that red, we're getting a more neutral color. So we're seeing that a warm yellow with a warm blue is going to give us a neutral green. All right, so now mix the other way. We're going to have more yellow in our mix. Mixing this way, we're going to have a little bit more blue. So you can just take some of that green, stick it in with our blue here. And now we're going to get a darker, almost hunter type green. But still very much a neutral. Okay, and now let's go the other way. We're going to take some of this green that we mixed and mix it with our yellow. And we kind of get this really muted yellow, kind of golden color, but very much, again, a neutral mix here. Kind of a yellowish green, or greenish yellow. But look at the difference in vibrancy. When it comes here, we still ended up with greens, but they're much different in their properties. They're much, a little bit darker. They're more neutral, not the bright colors we're going to get here. All right, so let's go ahead and next we'll do this section where we're going to do our cool yellow with our cool red. So our cool yellow is our lemon yellow. So we're going to activate that here. If you need more water, just spray that down on your palette. So we're going to have our cool yellow here. Paint that in right next to the warm yellow. And my cool yellow here is a lemon yellow. You should have colors in your palette. If they don't have the exact same color names, there might be similar, or just look for the colors that are similar. Okay, so next we want our cool red. So in my palette, I have Permanent Rose. It's our cool red. It is, kind of comes off more of a bright pink. Kind of looks like the magenta in your CMYK, if you have a CMYK printer. We'll go ahead and put that on this side. These are both very bright colors on their own. Let's see what we get when we mix the two. Last time, because our warm yellow and our warm red are very close to each other on the color wheel, they both, have red and yellow in them. And so we didn't get too much of variation, but we did get, some more yellowish, more orangish, and more reddish orange colors. Let's see what we're going to get this time. We're going to take pink, mix it with my Permanent Rose, mix it with the yellow. And we get this kind of salmon-y, orangish color. Still an orange. These are going to be some neutral oranges, but very different than the oranges we got before. This is a more muted orange. Now let's see what happens if we go more on the pink side. So I did get a little bit of yellow in my pink here already, so I'll just grab a tiny bit more. And so this is very much more of a salmon-y color. Feels even a little bit more red than the permanent rose that we're using as our red here. And then let's do our last one, which is more yellow. So we can just take a little bit of that orange color, mix it with this yellow. What we end up with is kind of a dirty yellow, almost like a mustardy color. You can see very different hues than we would have gotten if we mixed our warm yellow with our warm red, and a lot more variation in the mixes here. All right, so now we're up to my favorite section of the reverse color wheel, because we're going to be mixing a cool blue, our cerulean blue, with a warm red. Typically, when you mix blue and red, you think you're going to get a purple. And when we have our ultramarine and our permanent rose, we got some beautiful purples. But what do we think will happen here? On our exercise, it says neutral purples, grays, and browns. Well, that doesn't kind of go with what we learned in grade school, does it? But let's figure out why. So our warm red is our cadmium red. And again, it's kind of an orangish red. So this has yellow in it. Our cool blue is going to lean more toward green, and it's going to have some yellow in it too. So we're going to end up adding a third color. So let's start with our warm red on the left. Okay. Rinse, and let's grab our cool blue. In my case, that's cerulean blue. It's much more of a greenish blue. Let's paint that over on this side. And if you look at these colors, because the warm red is so yellow, it definitely leans more orange, right? It feels like an orange. And this is a very, a blue that's very much on in a normal color wheel. Blue and orange are going to be very opposite of each other. So in this instance, you know, we're going to be mixing complementary colors. And what happens when you mix complementing colors, which are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel? We are going to get a neutral. Let's grab some more of that cerulean, mix with our orange. And even though we expect a purple, actually, I'm going to try to get more of a 50-50 mix here. So when we mix them 50-50, you can get pretty close to gray here too. It's still technically a purple. It's in the purple family, but it's more of a brown or a neutral. And so not purple. If you get frustrated trying to mix purples and you end up with something like a brown, well, you're likely using the wrong primaries. If you want to mix the purple, you know, we go with colors that are in the same section of our split primary color wheel. On the reverse color wheel, this is going to teach us, though, why we would get, well, brown. All right, so let's take that brown mix and add some orange to it and see what's going to happen on the other side. We still end up with a brown. It leans, again, more orange. But these are great ways to get some neutral browns for your landscapes, trees, but not purple. We're in the very neutral area here. Remember, these are so far apart from each other on the color wheel that they're going to really, really neutralize each other. So now we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to do the blue, add a little bit of that brown, and here's where we start to get some grays. And because these colors are so far apart, you can get lots of different shades, but this is kind of a grayish blue, and there's a lot of different shades of gray, honestly, you can get in between that middle brown and this kind of grayish blue color. But very surprising when we expect to get purple. So If you haven't made your standard split primary color wheel yet, I recommend that you do that. In a previous video, I mentioned that something really nice to have is a color wheel. It's really going to teach you about color mixing, but don't go out and buy one. Check out the video on making a standard split primary color wheel. But making this reversed split primary color wheel is really teaching us a lot more about how to mix neutrals, and it's going to give you an even better idea of the different types of colors you can get from just the primaries in your palette. Remember, we haven't even done anything yet in this video series with any of the colors on the left side of our palette, just using these primaries, and we've already created so many different colors and learned a lot about color theory. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and like, subscribe so that you can continue to follow along with the Watercolor for Real Beginners series. Also, if you haven't checked it out yet, we have the Watercolor for Real Beginners Facebook group, and we'd love to see you there. So stick around for the next video, and happy painting.